All right, as I told our team, anytime you guys as a team can collectively come to U.S. Bank Stadium, it matters to us to try to win a football game. I thought there were a lot of positives, a lot of, I call it a checkpoint for our team last night that was significant. I mean, obviously, some of the biggest work we'll have all training camp is coming up on Wednesday and Thursday when we welcome New England to town. But anytime you put the uniform on and go play, I was happy with a lot of aspects of our team. It starts with we had the one turnover late. That's unacceptable. We did fumble 2 snaps, so we've got to get that rectified. But that can happen sometimes when you got different guys working with different players maybe than they're used to. But still, no excuse. I did like the fact we only had 4 penalties as a team. Offensively, I thought in the first half would have loved to get 7 on all 3 of those drives, but to have drives of, I think it was 12, 13, and 14, time of possession, all the things that we're looking for. When you're really not game planning a whole lot, it's just about execution. Thought all the quarterbacks did some good things. I thought all the runners did some good things. Felt the O-line throughout, our depth, and same with the receivers making some plays, even some of those guys that are down the line getting their first exposure. So as a team, obviously with Leaf with the 2 interceptions, Ambry had 1, 3 turnovers, our defense back to their ways in one half there. After that opening drive, which, they had some success, we really kind of shut the door for the rest of the day, gave ourselves a chance, to win the game. Mentioned Leaf and Ambry. I thought Gabe Murphy showed up as he has most of training camp. Starting off that group we had there on offense, there was some really good execution, some good things that we can learn from, but at the same time, I thought JJ commanded the huddle, got some great feedback from guys out there. Communication was really good, and it's definitely something we can build on here as we go into joint practice. I did want to update you guys, unfortunately, on 2 injuries. It looks like Rondale Moore does have a pretty significant left knee. Won't know until we MRI that tomorrow. And then late there, you saw Zeke Carell we've already x-rayed that. That is a right ankle fracture. So bummed we lost those 2 guys. But outside of that, our team came out relatively healthy. But anytime you lose guys to some significant injuries, absolutely hate seeing it. But with that, I'll open it up to you guys.
Did you think on Rondale that was a hip drop?
That if you saw me having some dialogue out there, that's what I was asking about. I do think we've got to get, I have to watch the playback, Kev, before I truly can give an opinion on it. But it was very, very unfortunate. Kind of seemed like it had a lot of the characteristics of that. But, I know it is a 3-part kind of process to actually call that on the field. We'll see when we watch the tape. I don't think there was any, bad intent there. I think guys are just out there playing hard and competing, and especially in the kicking game phases, which I do want to highlight. I did think our, special teams, there were some really bright performances, including really any of, between Will, Ryan, and Oscar. Thank you. I call him something that I would rather not share, but yeah, I thought it was a good thing across the board.
Get the MRI tomorrow, but is the initial concern? Is there initial concern for his ACL?
I just know, Ben, it's a significant. There's pretty significant concern for a serious knee injury. Don't want to speculate without getting clarity, for Rondale, and we'll keep you guys posted as we go. Once we find out, we'll try to keep you guys posted.
Kevin, just with all that he's navigated in his story, how brutal is that?
Heartbreaking. I mean, you could feel. I think anybody at the ballpark tonight or today could feel the emotion. It's one of the most painful things for me as a head coach when I feel the emotion, and I make a life out of trying to leave others better than I found them. And in that situation, there's really nothing to do or nothing I can do, which is the worst feeling as a head coach. So you just console him and make sure that he knows he's not going to be alone. And then you saw all of his teammates come out, which, at the time, Rondale's not going to probably recognize all that, but he's, tremendously loved and supported by those guys and all of us. So, but yeah, it's hard to even put into words.
JJ's play passed the test for what you were?
Yeah, I think, I love the fact that we were able to, execute, hit an explosive in the play-pass game. I love the fact that we converted some third downs. I love the fact that on the 4th down he used his legs for that steal one in a game. And I think there's just a level of, composure and poise to how he ran the show that, was exactly what I was looking for. And now we go back to work. It's obviously a checkpoint for our whole team, but clearly for JJ, as we got a chance to kind of have our first chance since last year, headset communication in real time, play clock, all of us coaches on the sideline, him running the show, and I thought he did a really, really nice job of that. And, would have loved to play him all day long, but, wanted to have him in there with some of the guys he's going to be in there with and did not want to play that full group very long with such significant work coming up on Wednesday and Thursday.
You mentioned his command at the huddle. I mean, just for him to be back for the first time in game action,
yeah.
How do you feel like he handled all the things that go with that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought for us really, we don't do a lot of game planning for these games. We also want to give our guys a chance to go out there and have success. So there's going to be some plays where guys got to, rise up and make some plays maybe above the scheme. And he did that a couple times, once with his legs. And I thought there was maybe one throw over the middle. It was high to Lucky he was a little sped up on, kind of resetting back through a progression. But, didn't really feel like he put the ball, at harm's risk very much in that sequence of plays. Led the offense on, I think, a 12-play drive for some points. And, with the way I believe our defense is going to play and the way I believe our kicking game is going to play, anytime we can put together a drive like that and get points, we always want to try to get 7. We're going to be aggressive. It wasn't just a preseason go for it. I wanted to see our group get that first down and be aggressive from that standpoint. But like I said, we'll look at the tape. There's going to be a bunch of little things we've got to correct across our whole team. But the principles of what I was looking to see out of the football team today, establishing our identity through our football philosophy, I think there's check marks that we'll be able to look at, and as well as a lot of things to improve on, which is exactly where you want your team to be this early on in the process.
How do you assess Sam Howell's body of work today?
Yeah, I thought, Sam's one of those guys that throughout the early stages of practice, you kept asking yourself, I think we're going to need to see him in game action just to get a great feel for kind of what Sam can do. And I thought, there was great examples of that, a guy that has played, a guy that moved the team, and I was happy with Sam. And then I thought, Rip had some things break down around him, which is normally the case throughout the preseason, and then, I thought Max did a pretty darn good job coming in there and putting the ball in the end zone there. So a lot of things those guys will probably be the first one to tell you, getting the rust off from a game standpoint. But I was proud of the way just our team, it felt clean for the most part. It's never going to be perfect, but it felt like we were a football team going in the right direction.
Kevin, what did you think of Xavier Scott?
Yeah, I thought he's another guy you've been, a lot of you guys have been out every day at camp seeing a lot of these tag-off periods where, we don't talk a lot about the run game in practice and some of these plays that look like it's a tag-off for 3 or 4 yards. They was getting 5 or 6, ran hard. He's got the skill set, as you've seen in the pass game, to help as well. I thought Ty Chandler had some good moments as well. Preseason's tough. It's one of those where, I respect that you guys are here, observing with your eyes instead of just the stat sheet, because it can be tough at times, with the way these games go, to really get a feel for exactly what happened if you weren't here observing it. So compliments to you guys for spending the day with us.
Gabe Murphy is a guy I think you guys have been excited about. What did you think of him today with his pressure specifically?
Yeah, I think he had 5 hits or whatever it was, and Gabe's been a guy that has shown up daily in camp, highlighted it in front of the team. I mean, it feels like a man on a mission right now in a lot of ways, and I'm just proud of him, proud of where he's at in camp right now, and now he's just got to set his sights on, continuing to compete. I've mentioned it to you guys how just competitive that outside linebacker room is, and it's because we're so good at the top with really 3 starters in JG, Gink, and Dallas, and then we feel really, really good about Bo, Gabe, and obviously the 2 young guys.
Kevin, what did you see in Elijah Williams that made you guys want to sign him after a tryout and what he's done since then?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you guys know, you know how we handle rookie minicamp. There's not a lot of team reps where you can project, but, I remember vividly Marcus Dixon coming to me after day 1 of that tryout, and I always like to check in with all the coaches. Anybody catch your eye for me to look at tomorrow, and I'll be the first one to tell you, watching D-line individual for an hour and a half is not what I choose to do with my free time a lot. But I did spend some time, just observing him, the effort, had a little pop to him throughout the drills, and that's really what's shown up throughout training camp. Guys like that are hungry, and also, for whatever reason, how you end up being a tryout guy, I tell the guys all the time, regardless of how you got here, this opportunity is right before your footsteps or right before your feet. So go out there and attack it every day. And you just feel a guy, he sits in the first row of my team meetings every single day. And for those of you guys that have been in there, that's like sitting in the front row of a movie theater. I tell him every day, I'm like, how do you see what I'm showing on the screen? He's like, Coach, don't worry about me. I sit in the front row, and that's what I do. And that's defensive meetings, position meetings. There's a lot to like about him, and it was good to see him make some plays tonight too.
What did you see out of Khalif that prompted the switch to safety, or the look at safety?
Well, I think we're always trying to find, those versatile skill sets. And sometimes it goes the other way, right? Sometimes it's how you use Harry and Josh Metellus, and sometimes it's how you use those guys up front, edge guys that can kick inside or kick off the ball or drop in coverage. It really just jumped out to us with, really as we've had some, whether it's Josh is working through what he's working through with his foot or whatever it was, it just seemed like some snaps were there. And he's got corner coverage skills and a physicality and kind of some ball skills that seem to fit with how we play football here. Not surprised that he was around the football and made some plays. We talk a lot about tips and overthrows with what our defense can do, and that showed up tonight. I was really proud of him.
First game guys probably done now as far as the preseason games go?
Yeah, we'll assess it. It's going to be a guy-by-guy thing, but more than likely, my expectation is if all goes well with having 2 complete full days, Wednesday and Thursday, that will kind of take care of itself, and then we'll assess it. But I think between how we handle this week and then how we handle kind of a short week, if you will, going into that last preseason game, we've got a very tight calendar to make sure repetition-wise the football team's in the kind of game shape that I'm looking for. And then we're going to start preparing for our first division opponent.
But a bunch of guys sat, but I believe Javon now, practice-wise, missed 3 of the past 4 and then didn't play today.
Yeah.
Is there a concern there about?
Yeah, he would have sat regardless, but there is not. He's just working through the normal training camp things, and hopefully we'll start being able to work him back in. We've had kind of the eye on those joints, knowing he wasn't going to play today. Both him and J.A., we've had our eye on those joints, joint practices. I should finish that off. But yeah, that's where we're at.
What did you see from Ty Felton, just from a special teams perspective?
Yeah, I mean the gunner rep to get down there and be near that ball that Oscar hit, kind of had some English on it, and comes out right there. We're going to get one of those one of these days. And then I felt his speed. Obviously that first, I think we're all kind of learning on the fly, with that dynamic kickoff, and there's going to be some crazy bounces. There's going to be some plays that you block perfectly, and maybe you got a chance for a big one. I thought Will's there towards the end was an unbelievable kick. So I think that phase is going to be one where as we go through the preseason, we're kind of learning like you guys as we go of what exactly that's going to look like. But you saw, I think they were a yard or 2 away from that ball landing in the landing zone, and it's the 40-yard line. So, I mean, it's a significant play in our league this year for sure.
What was your reaction to Mike Vrabel jumping into a scrum at practice last week?
Yeah, I texted him because I wanted the visual evidence of just how bad the injury was he received. But he sent me a picture back immediately, and so I was able to confirm that he was okay. He called it next to nothing, but it was a very up-close and personal photo of Vrabel's face. I hadn't seen him like that in a long time. So I think the big thing for us and why Mike's always one of my first calls for joint practices is, we spend a lot of time talking about how we're going to set it up. And then I tend to, be on that offensive field quite a bit. He tends to be on his first offense, and he can kind of move around because he's not a play calling coordinator necessarily. So he's a guy I trust. I know his team's going to practice really hard, and I expect it to be joint practice intensity. That's why we put so much value on it. But I believe both of our teams will know how to practice, and I think both of our teams will know the standard and what happens if we fall fall short of that standard of how we want to get work in those 2 days. Thanks, guys.